So this is a research article that she was involved with where they looked at the role of oxalate in autism. And autism is not just effects on the brain. It is also like a bunch of other things which can be going on in the body overall. But of course, we do know that autism does have nervous system aspects. And the interesting thing that I just want people to note on this piece of research here is that plasma oxalate, so that's in the body, and spontaneous urinary calcium oxalate were determined for 36 children and adolescents who had an autism diagnosis. So that's the method that they had in the study. But the results were this: children with ASD demonstrated 3-fold greater plasma oxalate levels compared with what was expected in normal population, and 2.5-fold greater urinary oxalate. And in fact, this was found in 100% of the kids that they tested who had an autism diagnosis. 100% of them had higher than expected oxalate, both in the bloodstream and in their urine. So there's really something going on with oxalate and what it does to us. And when people have diagnoses that are recognizing these kinds of systemic impacts, we're seeing that they've got oxalate as part of the process, part of the challenge. And we need to know more about why things like this would be happening. But for sure, it's not just people with autism. So I've looked at research that has to do with hyperoxaluria, which are people who have genetic issues with oxalate. And I've also looked at research where, again, I'm trying to connect these dots, things where they're trying to get things into the brain where they're using oxalate as a binding agent. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to tour around a little bit here. So let me find my next research link. Interestingly enough, in Alzheimer's disease, they are finding calcium oxalate crystals in the brain. This is not necessarily what you would expect, but the challenge is that it does seem to be able to get through the blood-brain barrier. And so what we want is to reduce oxalate in the bloodstream so there would be less pressure for it to be moved into the brain. And we need more research here because we don't know how this gets resolved. But people who go on lower oxalate diets do tend to get better in terms of, nervous system neurological symptoms. And what we have to also keep in mind is that 30 unexpected crystals were inflammasome activating calcium oxalate. So it did manage to get into the brain. This is not ideal, but I think it's also not the last word here, because I have absolutely had issues with brain fog and nervous system challenges, which once I got down to a lower oxalate diet and stayed there, I was able to get past. So it's not, I don't think it's the last word.